Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Saturday, January 1st, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. 5 plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 500 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting advice that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks and advice. Utah vs Ohio State. Utah is averaging 35.1 points per game. They are averaging 212.5 passing yards and 216.1 rushing yards per game. Cameron Rising completed 62.8% of his passes for 2,279 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Tavion Thomas led the team with 1,041 rushing yards and 20 touchdowns, while Brant Kuad led the team with 534 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. Utah also played well defensively, giving up 20.9 points per game. They gave up 10 points in their last game and will need a similar effort if they want to win this game. Not every player on the Buckeyes was around for last season's playoff run, most notably C.J. Stroud and Trevayon Henderson. So it's a bit of a stretch to think Ohio State will just roll over after a loss to Michigan and a few opt-outs. This is a big game for guys like Stroud and Henderson as well, and they'll treat it as such in this matchup. The Utes have been solid defensively for the most part, but they did show cracks against Oregon State. If we're going to bring up bad memories for the Buckeyes, then we have to bring the Beavers leaving cleat prints all over the Utes defense in a game where they gave up 260 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Henderson is definitely capable of bringing up bad memories on the ground, and Stroud is a versatile playmaker that can win with his legs or find wideout Jackson Smith-Njigba downfield in stride. The offense isn't going to suddenly die off without Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Ohio State is averaging 45.5 points per game. They are throwing for 364.9 yards and rushing for 186.2 yards per game. C.J. Stroud completed 70.9% of his passes for 3,862 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Trevayon Henderson led the team with 1,165 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns, while Jackson Smith-Njigba led the team with 1,259 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. The Buckeyes will be without receivers Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, offensive lineman Nicholas Petit-Frere, and defensive lineman Haskell Garrett, who opted out of this game. Ohio State has also played well defensively, giving up 20.9 points per game. They gave up 42 points in their last game and will need a significantly better performance if they want to get the win. Our first betting advice is to pick Ohio State Buckeyes, -4. Ohio State star receivers Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave have already opted out in favor of preparing for the NFL draft instead. Defensive tackle Haskell Garrett and offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere have agreed to do the same. But the present, and especially the future, is bright with quarterback C.J. Stroud and running back Trevayon Henderson in the mix. Both of those guys are still freshman football players, and you can rest assured this game will be a big deal for them. Utah's defense hasn't been tested the way it's going to get tested on Saturday. Make no mistake, this isn't the same team that got beat up by Oregon earlier in the season. But they are the same team that got ran into the ground by Michigan for 297 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. Utah will be looking to impose the same game plan in this matchup to take some of the pressure off Rising. Ohio State's defense has to find a way to get home in the offensive backfield. The Utes are allowing the 5th least sacks along a talented offensive front. However, if that role were to finally break down against Ohio State, it would be disastrous for Utah. Our second betting advice is to pick under 64. Quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. 5 plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 500 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting advice that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks and advice. Baylor vs Ole Miss. The Bears under Aranda have been a defense-first team. They have held a number of high-powered offenses well below their season averages. The Baylor defense held Oklahoma to just 14 points, and then Oklahoma State to just 16 points down the stretch of the season. The key to the defense has typically been the front four or front three depending on Aranda's defensive schemes. Siaki Ika doesn't put up huge numbers, but his sheer size occupies blockers and allows inside LBs Terrell Bernard and Dylan Doyle to make plays. Baylor's best defensive player is safety Jalen Pitter. The undersized safety led the team in tackles for a loss and is always around the ball. The key for the Baylor defense has been turnovers. The Bears have forced a turnover on 17% of drives this year, which ranks number 7 in the nation. Matt Corral will stack around for the Rebels in this one, but he will be facing a tough overall defense. The Rebels need their ground game to be effective, but that will not be easy against Baylor's 18th ranked run defense. On the other side of the ball, Baylor has a strong ground game, and the Rebels are 103rd against the run. Yes, the Ole Miss defense has played better of late, but they have still allowed 188.3 IP on the ground in their last 3 games. I can see Baylor running it down their throats, which will in turn keep the high-powered Ole Miss offense on the sidelines. The Ole Miss defense will be the key to the team's success in this game. The defense ranks 35th in the country and allows 246 passing yards per game and 185 rushing yards per game. Linebacker Chance Campbell leads Ole Miss in tackles and tackles for loss. Campbell also has 6 sacks and has gotten a hit on the QB a team-high 11 times. The Rebels' defense is predicated on getting to the quarterback and creating second and third and long situations. If they can stop the Baylor ground game, players like Campbell and Sam Williams, who leads the team with 12.5 sacks, can tee off on Baylor's QB. A.J. Finley leads the Rebels' secondary with 3 interceptions. The Ole Miss secondary is reliant on the team's front four getting pressure. Our first betting advice is to pick Baylor +1. The Rebels have 4 players with at least 540 yards rushing, including Corral, who has 597 yards and 111 TDs. Leading the team are Jerry Neely, who has rushed for 705 yards and 5 TDs, and Snoop Connor, who had 605 yards and 13 TDs. The running game will not have an easy time against Baylor's 18th ranked run defense. Ole Miss has now notched 10 wins 7 times in their history, but they have yet to win 11 games in a season. Could this be their first 11-win season? We shall see. Ole Miss is 6-3 in the Sugar Bowl in their history, including 6-1 in their last 7. Kiffin will have the services of his quarterback, Matt Corral, who announced that he was entering this year's NFL draft, but will stay to play in this game. Corral presents a number of problems for the stout Baylor defense. He has completed 68% of his passes this season with only 4 interceptions. Corral is also an effective runner, with 145 rushing attempts on the season and 11 rushing touchdowns. Ole Miss, like Baylor, will spread the ball around rushing the ball. Jerry Neely, Snoop Connor and Henry Parrish have all rushed for over 500 yards and combined for 21 rushing touchdowns. Dontario Drummond will be Corral's primary target through the air. Drummond had 67 catches and 8 touchdowns on the season. Our second betting advice is to pick under 55.5.